Do you think there should be more than two genders in America?
Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are two genders, male and female. Do you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able to answer.
How many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many genders are there?
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. And friends, for this video, we are certainly putting the mock back into DUMBmocracy, because this video involves this kid grifter, Harry Sisson. You know him, you loathe him. He gets paid by the DNC through his bosses at Palette Media to spew anything and everything that the DNC, the Biden administration, whoever was paying him at the time, he says whatever they want him to say. He's their parrot. And he goes on these shows whenever he's invited on, and every single time he makes a complete and utter fool of himself when confronted with serious thinkers like Piers Morgan, for example. You may not always agree with him, but Piers certainly takes his job more seriously than this buffoon of a grifter right here. In this video that's been making the rounds over the weekend, Harry Sisson is confronted by Piers Morgan, Dave Rubin, and others on Piers Morgan Uncensored to discuss President Trump's executive orders, specifically the one where President Trump declared that the federal government only recognizes two genders, male and female. What ensues turns into a real gender bender, forgive the pun, as Harry Sisson tries to contort and twist and turn his way into being right, but really just makes himself look like a complete and total idiot. We're going to enjoy the hilarity together in this video, but before we get to the yucks, I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and if you like what you see and hear in this or any other video on the channel, smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that really, really good stuff, because all that's going to help our channel grow via the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me Seymour.
Or maybe you're watching on Rumble or X, wherever you are. Please support the channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, whatever it is that they ask you to do on that platform. Please do it to help support the show. I really appreciate those efforts. And by the way, if you're brand new to the channel, I'm glad you're here. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some laughs. And I hope at the end of the day, I earn your subscription as we look back on really embarrassing stuff here from Harry Sisson that left Piers Morgan and the panel in stitches. Those of you who have watched Piers Morgan's show before, you know already that you don't watch this show for any of the intellectual discourse that you would expect from other debate programs or anything like that. The panelists here often devolve into shouting matches, insults, and the like, and very little, if anything, is resolved at the end of the day. But Piers Morgan does his best here to start the segment off with a very simple question to Harry Sisson. Let the games begin.
Do you think there should be more than two genders in America?
Insert Admiral Akbar right here.
It's a trap.
Yeah, I don't know what that executive order means. I don't know what the president declared.
It means there are two genders, male and female. Do you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able to answer.
How many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many genders are there?
What's the legal? I'm gonna use Joe Biden's answers. At least two. At least two. That satisfies.
Well, how many more other than male, female?
That's a TikTok answer.
There's at least two.
Yeah.
There's at least two.
Well, no, hang on. There's male and female.
Kid is like human brain
Donald
rot.
Trump said.
And you see already, here we are right now. The conservative speakers, I believe that's Ben Ferguson and Dave Rubin, and I don't know if you want to call Piers Morgan conservative or not, but he's certainly not ultra liberal. They're all just repeating the same question over and over again. And the stress is on Harry Sisson here. His answer is complete weak sauce. There's only two. Giving in to the question by offering up a number. An example of a better answer here would be, well, gang, gender isn't really scientific. It's not a binary choice. It's a spectrum along a social dynamic. It has nothing to do with the science of the matter of being male and female sex, as it were, gender is something totally different that can't really be measured in the same way because it's a social construct.
Hey, whose side are you on anyway?
That would have been the probably easiest answer he could have given and would have saved him a lot of trouble, but instead, Harry Sisson gave in and said at least 2 and left it open-ended without explaining why he's leaving it open-ended. This shows that Harry Sisson is just not ready for prime time when it comes to these discussions. After all, I'm just an idiot on the YouTubes and the social medias just spewing stuff out because I kind of feel like I'm not getting paid to do this, and I'm able to give a better answer than he can. It's a shame that his betters didn't give him a good script for this.
There's this male and female. There are 2.
Okay, Dave.
How
Russian
many
Reuben,
more
come
are
on
there
now.
after male and female, Harry?
There's at least 2. Now, anyway, let me get back to
What
what
do you
I was
at
saying.
least
How many
2?
more are there?
What are the other ones?
There's at least 2.
What are the other ones?
Harry, let's
with
try it this way.
executive order,
You're a
what's the legal
female. What is the
It's
other gender?
It's so funny. It's so funny how these conservatives just get time to lie on this show, but when I'm speaking, they all
We
interrupt
asked a
and there's no
damn
problem.
question.
You've just been
Yeah,
asked a very
and
simple
I'm trying to
question,
have a
Harry.
conversation with
How many
Piers, not you,
genders there
Mr.
are?
Combe over. Relax for me.
Harry,
Take a
you
breather.
simply
Thank
got
you so
asked
much.
if there are at least 2 genders, how many more
Wait,
are
Piers,
there than male and female?
Piers, you asked me about Donald Trump's executive order. I'm trying to explain how legally it makes absolutely no sense and it's going to get sued in court. Then we go into culture wars with Dave Rubin and this Ferguson guy asking how many genders are there.
Oh, cry me a freaking river, kid. The question was asked originally by Piers Morgan about how many genders are there. Had nothing to do with blaming it on Dave Rubin, who clearly you don't like because he owned you in a previous episode of this show. And by the way, if you want to see our discussion on that, check that out in the upper right-hand corner of the screen right now. We'll link it right now. There it is right there. You can always check that out later. It's also in the description below. But again, Harry Sisson showing his immaturity, crying like, well, I'll leave you to describe it on your own.
Like a little bitch.
It's not fair. The conservatives get to speak. Why don't I get to speak? Wah. I'm sorry. Come back when you're grown. Come back when you're able to take the heat from an outside perspective. And yes, I'm going to say it plainly. Dave Rubin and Mr. Ferguson here and Piers Morgan, they're certainly bullying for different reasons. I think Dave Rubin is just trolling. I think Ben Ferguson doing the same thing here. But Piers Morgan is trying to nail this kid down to answer the follow-up question he had. Okay, if you say there's more than 2, then how many are there? That's the question that naturally follows. It lends itself based upon Sisson's answer. If Sisson would have taken a more diplomatic answer and say that gender is a social construct and therefore there can be any number at any given time, then maybe he would have been able to deflect a little better. I still think it's not an acceptable answer. I don't think that there's really been this separation between sex and gender in academic fields until very recently, and therefore think that whatever academia has been saying about social constructs and all that really has any merit. But at least he would have had a minimal foundation for what he was saying. Instead, he fell into the trap, and he is now trying to fend off the trolling and the follow-up questions. And he's not doing a great job of it either.
No,
I'm trying
I'm
to answer your
asking
question.
you.
They're screaming
He
their
asked
faces
you.
off
I'm
about issues that
asking
don't
you.
fucking matter.
Language.
I'm
Harry,
asking
nobody.
you.
Oh God, this
And
child.
Piers, I've
I'm
given you-
asking you, Harry,
Piers,
how many
and
genders
I'm
are
answering
there?
your question.
Harry,
Piers, I've answered your question.
Harry, how
There
many
are at
genders are
least
there?
2. There are at least 2.
2
Is
or
that,
at least
are
2?
there 100?
Hang
Are
on,
there
Ben.
100?
Hang on, Ben. I've got
More
this.
or less than 100?
Can I answer the question?
Yes,
for
Cornell.
Brother Harry?
Answer the question.
4?
Can I answer the question
Yes.
for Brother Harry? Because
Seven?
Brother Harry trying
Yes,
to hold
help
on.
him out, Cornell.
Oh no. Here comes Dr. Cornell West. He's coming to White Knight. Sorry for the description there, Dr. West. He's coming to help Harry Sisson. He's coming to save the day here and give the answer. I can't wait to hear this.
That according to Shakespeare, all of us are androgynous. There are men and there are women. There are different sides of human beings, all made in the image
Okay,
of
well,
a God
this
that
doesn't
has a
represent what I
dignity.
think,
And
all right?
and Harry Sisson says, no, Dr. West. No, this is not what I'm saying. Please stop helping me. Please stop helping me. Oh, Dave Rubin's off the screen. Look at the reactions here. This is the modern left, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, apparently. This is what we're left to deal with as adults, as mature people, trying to have discourse over a sociological, political issue here. How are we supposed to treat this new idea, this relatively new idea that there's more than two genders? And according to Dr. West, we're going to wax poetically about Shakespeare and what he thinks. We're not even going to deal with sociology. We're not even going to deal with biology. We're going to go straight to literature and that sort of philosophy from ye olden days that Shakespeare supposedly had, if you believe Dr. West to begin with. Anyway, by the way, if there are any literary scholars out there, if you want to chime in on what Dr. West is saying here, please leave a comment and let me know if that too is bullshit or not. Back to the fun.
A sanctity. And if you're going to try to start demonizing precious trans folk, then I'm going to be fighting.
Everyone.
But it's not. But
okay, Cornell, I agree with them. I agree with them.
Stop. How is this helping?
I agree. Don't
This
demonize
is all
trans
the
folks,
left
but there
has
is an
left. It's
executive
really
order I take
I've got to
extraordinary.
say, the torturous
No, that's not all the
answers-
left has left. We got a whole lot
I think when
more
you're
waiting for
reduced
you,
to
Brother
quoting
Ruben. You just
Shakespeare,
watch.
We got a whole lot more left for you after a losing election. Dave Rubin was saying, this is why we won. And I got to agree. Both Sisson and West are acting as buffoons. We're going to talk about two different buffoons right now that I feature in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. It's an award-winning book. It was a bestseller on Amazon. Check it out today at shop.buffooneroftheweek.com, or you can pick it up on any of the websites I mentioned.
This guy is a grifter.
So basically, we have two different type of lesser hypocrites that I'm talking about in the book here. When it comes to Cornell West, he's given this torturous, twisting and turning answer. He's the agenda gymnast that I talk about in the book. Agenda gymnasts are people who care about only reaching the goal, in this case, answering the question about how many genders there are, and doing so puts their own personal credibility at stake, basically saying, trust me and believe me when I say that Shakespeare said A, B, C, and D. Meanwhile, not even Harry Sisson is buying that line of BS and is disclaiming anything that Cornell West is saying there. So the agenda gymnast is using up this personal credibility. Cornell West is using up whatever reputational status he has in order to help out Harry Sisson, and it certainly didn't help. By the way, we call this in the book, if you want to add a little more humor to it, Buffoonicus contortius, because of the twisting and turning in unnatural ways that we're seeing here from Cornell West in his rhetoric. Now, Harry Sisson, he's a straight up BS buffoon. Buffoonicus supercilious, that's how we get the BS from. He thinks he knows everything. He is so confident in his knowledge of this issue and his ability to convey that knowledge. If you saw, there's also a little bit of the agenda gymnast in Harry Sisson as well here, because Harry Sisson was trying to manipulate the question from Piers Morgan, not answering the question about how many genders there are, but talking about criticisms of President Trump's executive order and the feasibility of it. So we've got two types of buffoons here, one more of a hybrid being displayed in Harry Sisson with his BS buffoonery, his supercilious nature, his overconfidence in his abilities and his lack of ability to perform, and Cornell West, who is putting what's left of his reputation on the line for Harry Sisson. Meanwhile, on the other side of the screen, they're just laughing it up because this is emblematic of what happened during the election. This sort of nonsense, this sort of buffoonery is part of why Donald Trump won. When presented with these two sides, and you're dealing with serious problems, which side would you choose to vote for? The more serious side, I would think, and that's what happened in this election. Let's just keep going.
Cornell,
gonna
when
see
you
on
reduce to
Class
quoting
on
Shakespeare
Empire,
about gender.
but it's going to be humanistic across
Look
the
at
board.
this cult member out there with so
tired
many
of you
MAGA
all
hats. Take them off your
demonizing the
head,
weak.
buddy. It's weird.
I'm
Take
just
them off
showing
your
why we
head.
won, bro. 'cause you
Nobody's
can't even answer
demonizing
the
the
question
weak.
how
I'm
many
for
genders there
girls
are.
playing girls in
Winning
girls
at the
sports.
moment doesn't mean that you're right, brother. Just because you won
Hey,
at
hey,
the
Dave, how
moment
many
doesn't mean
trans
that you're
athletes
right.
are in college
you know
sports?
that.
Loud noises!
You know that from
Cornell,
history.
Cornell,
Hey,
Cornell,
Dave
please.
Rubin,
I
how
wanna
many
ask
how many
Cornell a
trans
question.
athletes are in
Piers.
college sports? Does
I
anybody
wanna-
know?
I wanna
Anybody
ask
here?
you
If
Cornell
there's
a
one
question.
biological male beating a girl in a sport,
Yeah,
it's
look
one
at
too
this.
many.
This guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Now, can we get back to the executive orders I disagree with by any chance?
Yeah, sure.
Or
But
are we
what
still-
about that one, about the two
Yeah.
genders?
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
work
no,
out.
I
Two
think-
genders. Let's go back to that.
Well, hang on, I
Executive
can't
order.
work out
to
whether you agree
answer
or
it.
disagree.
Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
Donald Trump says specifically, Harry, there are two genders, male and female, that's it. You think there are at least two, which normally
Correct.
means there are more than two. So what are the others?
Interpret as you will, but I think
Well, no,
that
you tell
executive
me.
order is stupid.
Tell me, what are the others?
I've given you my answer.
What are
It's
the
at least
others?
two.
Baby.
You can interpret
Give
that
us
as you
Harry,
will. You
what
can-
are the other
you guys can run
genders?
wild with interpretations here. I'm
Harry,
telling you my answer is at
Harry,
least two. Now,
Harry.
on the legitimacy of the
I'm
executive
trying to
order,
be-
it
I'm
makes
trying
no
to be
sense.
humane.
What's legal mechanism for enforcement?
Harry,
That's what I'm
This is
asking.
why I hate
Harry,
TikTok babies.
wait, Harry,
Me too. Me too. What kind of answer is that? To say interpret it as you like? It's a cop-out. It's nonsense. It's waving the white flag of, I don't know how to answer this. Interpret it as you will.
Fugazi, fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
Does that sound like someone serious to you? Does that sound like someone who has the ability to participate in political discourse? He's ill-prepared to answer the question. He only wants to answer what he chooses to answer, talking about the feasibility of executive orders and enforcing it, which, by the way you enforce it is, you enforce it by having your executive branches recognize only two genders, male and female. You got to fit into those two boxes when it comes to defense, when it comes to other operations of the federal government. That's what it's all about. But back to my criticism of the child here. Harry Sisson is basically throwing his hands up and giving up. It's emblematic of someone who is ill-prepared. He doesn't have the script in front of him to deal with Piers Morgan. And by the way, Piers Morgan and Rubin and Ferguson here, they know he's a child. They know he's a grifter. They know he doesn't have an original thought in his head. So they mock him. They point it out and they laugh at him. Is it a form of bullying? Absolutely, it's a form of bullying, but it's also a form of trying to correct behavior in society. One of the reasons we have comedy and we are able to point and laugh at someone doing something that is against the norm is to bring a corrective measure to whatever the action is here. Dave Rubin and Ben Ferguson here, what they're trying to do is mock Harry Sisson in order to bring about some corrective measure. Get serious, kid. Get real with your answers. You're not prepared to be here. You're not ready for prime time. You're not ready for this big stage. Go back, learn you some more, and then come back when you're actually ready. That's the purpose of this form of mockery from Rubin and Ferguson. At least that's my opinion on it. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Harry, when you say there are at least two genders...
Be quiet. Ted Cruz's buddy over here with the
Harry,
comb over needs to be quiet.
Is Piers talking to you?
I
simply
there's
want
two
to know,
genders.
Harry, you said you wanted to go back to the list of executive orders, whether you agreed or not. You say
You
there
have
are...
my answer, Piers. My answer doesn't change.
No, but your answer doesn't make any sense. What do you mean?
It's
at least
stupid. It
two?
doesn't make any sense.
Piers, you can think my answer doesn't make any sense. You're going to ask me the question again. We're going to go back and forth. I'm
No,
going
I'd
to give you
like
the
you
exact
to
same answer.
explain what you
It
mean.
makes no sense.
No,
This executive order is
I'm asking
nonsense.
you what you mean by at least two genders.
I'm saying at least two.
What does that mean?
At least there are. What do you? What's the? I'm not sure what you're confused
Does
about.
that mean there are more than two, or there are
There's
two?
at a minimum. There's at a minimum two.
This is exactly why the Democrats
This is it.
on
Yes.
these issues got
Yes.
God, you
themselves
guys are
into
such
so much
losers.
difficulty
You guys are such
because they
losers.
literally
And Harry Sisson takes it back to the playground. Oh, you guys are such losers, man. Like he's the cool kid and everybody else is a loser, an idiot, a moron, don't know what they're talking about. Where does this kid get this superiority complex from? How in the world? I mean, did this come from his parents? Propping him up all the time that he's such a good little boy and he did all these things great and, his shit don't stink? Where did this come from? And how is this kid not humbled by this just horrible performance? We've seen this time and time again with him. This air of superiority in all his videos, like he knows everything and his adversaries don't. Where is the humility in all of this? Pride goeth before a fall, people, and so does mispronouncing like I do. I mean, listen, I'm willing to admit my faults when I flub a line here and there, but Harry Sisson is unrepentant and completely recalcitrant. Big words, I know, when it comes to recognizing that he's just not him, man. He's just not the guy to be on this stage right now talking about this issue. You're not an expert. You don't have any credentials. You're on TikTok and you talk from a script. If that's all you strive to be in life, I'm feeling kind of sad for you.
We literally just won an election.
Trump is a
If there's any day not to call us losers,
All right, don't all
it's the
shout.
day
I
we
want
just
Dave
kick their
Rubin to
ass.
respond. Dave Rubin, this to me is exactly why the Democrats lost the plot. They can't even explain what they mean when they say this crap.
Look, Harry perfectly exemplifies everything wrong with the modern left and the Democrat Party. He can't tell you how many genders there are, and then all he can do is hurl insults. That's exactly what the Democrats and the
Weren't you
media
just calling me a
machine
child
has
earlier?
done. For you are a child.
Is the
That's not an
hypocrisy
insult.
not
You're
astounding?
a child. How old are you?
Is
12?
the hypocrisy not
Anyway,
astounding?
listen,
Do you feel no shame when you say something like that? Is the hypocrisy not absolutely astounding, Dave?
Be quiet. Get a job, kid. Listen. This is
you're
exactly
doing it
this,
right
this
now.
smug,
You're doing it right now,
nonsensical
Dave.
drivel is
Oh,
what
the
everyone hates.
hypocrisy is astounding.
Piers, if you may remember, what was it, a few months ago, I think it was a day before Joe Biden stepped down when Harry and I were on the panel, and he was saying how brilliantly sharp and never sharper. He's, oh my God, his brain is so great. Joe Biden is the best. And then the next day,
They
he
did
gets
hire
the talking
TikTokers
points
to
from
say
the
that,
DNC.
in all fairness.
And he's yes, they pay these people. It's as simple as that.
they
That's
pay
why he
TikTokers
can't tell
to
you
lot of my
how many
commentators.
genders there
Russia
are.
pays conservative commentators.
All right, let me ask Cornell. I want to bring Cornell back. I want to bring Cornell back.
And basically, Dave Rubin just stole my final thought here for this video. The kid is that. He's a kid. Now, that's not an insult. That's just a fact of life right now. He's a boy trying to play in a man's game. He's ill-prepared. He doesn't have the skills that he thinks he has. And then he tries to be a wannabe buffoonologist like us, trying to claim hypocrisy because Dave Rubin's calling him a child and talking about insults. It's not an insult to call you a child, Harry, because that's what you are. You know, the idea from Confucius of the rectification of names, call things as they are. Oh, I'm sorry, Harry. Let me dumb it down for you. Because you are a child, we can call you a child, and that's not hypocrisy. That's fact.
Grown-ups are talking.
The point of this whole video here is mockery, derision, comedy has its place in political discourse, and it has a corrective function that can be applied if people recognize that the mockery and derision heading their way is a reflection on their own performance. Harry Sisson, go back, huddle up with your people, get together, and get better at this. Because right now, you freaking suck. But hey, that's just my opinion on this whole clip. I want to know what you guys think about this. Let's get into the comments together. And as always, like and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the shows. Check out the merch at shop.buffooneroftheweek.com. Maybe pick up the book in ebook form. I hope that you definitely do all that. And I hope you join me in the comments so we can discuss this video. We can discuss Harry Sisson's BS buffoonery, as well as all the other shenanigans happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.